Good evening, everyone. I hope you have all had a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. I'm joined by Mr. Sam Mulliner and Johnny Greenwood, and we thought, because the Everton game has been postponed, we'll get together and do a half-term score report on all of the first team who are amongst playing, and we'll also do a couple who aren't playing, which we'll mention right at the beginning. But first, Johnny, you've got something to tell us, haven't you?
Hello everyone, this video is sponsored by OneFootball. OneFootball is the app that you all need. We all have it here at Newcastle Fan TV to get all the latest information on Newcastle United and the Premier League. And January is going to be huge as well with the January transfer window. Make sure you download OneFootball to get all the latest information on incomings and outgoings on Newcastle United.
Yeah, so as Johnny's just rightly said there, the OneFootball app link is in the description for that if you want to have a look at all the transfer rumours. There was so many going out, a lot of Barcelona connections currently at the moment, so if you want to have a look, link is in the description for the OneFootball app as Sam models his head on it. So have a look at that. But yeah, welcome everybody. Lads, Sam had a good Christmas?
Well, no, you know full well I didn't. I had COVID, you tit. But
Johnny, we'll come to Johnny. Let's go positive. Johnny, you have a good Christmas?
I had a great Christmas. I managed to get out and about, have a few drinks, spend time with the family. It was brilliant.
What it's all about, isn't it? Spend time with the family. Right then, so let's get down to why you're all tuning in. Then we're going to rattle through about 25, 26 players. And we'd like to see what you score them. Now, there has been some controversial scorelines. Sam always points this out in the Matchday Live videos, some shocking ones, like 2 out of 10s, where we're in the stadium and they're like, bloody hell, who was good today? And then the lads are scoring them like 2s and 3s. So we thought we'll put the sensible, the mature heads on. I like to call us 3 and the mature ones on tonight. And we're going to begin first, not with the goalkeepers, non-applicables. Mark Gillespie, Paul Dummett, Elliot Anderson haven't kicked a Premier League ball this season. Just a quick one, Johnny. Mark Gillespie, do you think he'll be off that 25-man list when it gets reshuffled late January? Well, 1st of February, isn't it?
Potentially, but Freddy Woodman seems to be linked with a championship move, which I think he will do. I think obviously I've seen rumours of Sheffield United, Bournemouth. There's a couple of teams that are interested. One thing I don't like talking about. So I know you don't like talking about it. Always hear speculation, and we don't want to do videos on that. But Sam Johnson seems to be a name that's been linked with the last couple of weeks in terms of Newcastle. As well. So if that is the case,
I haven't seen that. Jesus, no.
I've seen that. I've seen that in a couple of different reports. Sam Johnson from West Brom. So if something like that was to happen, maybe potentially 5th choice if Freddy Woodman doesn't get a move. So I'm not too sure. I'm not massively bothered. I'm honest. I think we've got 2 keepers who you can trust. If we're being honest, for this season for sure.
Yeah, and the other one, big one there, Sam, is nearing to match fitness. You might get a run out in the under-23s games. Paul Dummett. I think he is a miss considering look at the defensive errors so far this season. And also, we've got a situation at left back. He can always be a defensive left back if we need one. So there's a couple of roles there that Paul Dummett can play with. Does he have a big part in the second half of the season, regardless who we're saying?
Probably not now. He would have definitely got a game where he fit in the first half of the season because the defence, as we come on to, has been pretty shoddy all round. It's an interesting video, this is really, because we're all kind of in hot anticipation for the transfer window and who we're going to sign and who's going to go. And when you look at scoring the players for the first half of the season, there's not going to be many high scores because, we're still 19th in the league. But Dummett, I prefer at centre-back these days. Versatile, obviously, with left-back, and obviously Richie's been horrendous there for the most part. So he would have definitely got a game, but I prefer him at centre-back, left-sided centre-back, because he gets in over Kieran Clark every day of the week and twice on Sundays for me.
Yeah, he does. And I think Elliot Anderson you might get a run out in the FA Cup if that game goes ahead against Cambridge in a couple of weeks' time. But those 3 lads haven't kicked a Premier League ball, so that's the reason why we're giving them all a non-applicable. I'll go to Johnny for this one. Freddy Woodman. He's played 4 games, hasn't got a clean sheet. And what you're going to score him, so if you can score him first and then the reason why.
It's a tough one. I'm going to go 4.
Ooh, why?
we didn't win a game with him in goal, and it was considered a lot of goals. And I'm not necessarily putting that all down to him, but if you're looking at from a goalkeeping point of view, you're looking at how many clean sheets, how many big saves did you make, and what sort of contributions did you make? Now, I always remember this moment in the first half against West Ham, and I think it was Richie, and it was a centre half, and there was somebody else having a right go at him for kicking the ball long near the first half, but none of them were playing as well, and it was like an easy target for Freddy Woodman just to get absolutely bollocked at. And I thought that was a bit harsh. And I don't think the players on the defence in particular trusted him. He's very slim, very, very slim. And I just think I don't know if they were worried that he wouldn't be able to command his area. There's no doubt he's a good shot stopper. And I kind of got the feeling that if Darlow was fit, or because we never really knew the situation with Dubravka that much, that I think if one of them two were gonna be fit, then you would have expected one of them two to go straight back in. I still think Freddy Woodman could be a Premier League goalkeeper. I just don't think it's going to be with Newcastle United.
Yeah, and he was great in the Championship. Man United game springs to mind for me with Freddy Woodman when I was down there at Old Trafford. The two Ronaldo goals for me. He's got
the first one.
Both of them. I think he's got to say both of them. Had his chance. It was his great time to impress, but just 4 games. Obviously played the League Cup game, so technically he's played 5, but we're not counting that League Cup draw against Burnley. But 4 games in the Premier League, big opportunity lost, isn't it, Sam? So do you think he'll get back in?
I don't know. If you go back to the start of the season, I was really hopeful for him, and I really wanted him to do well and cement that place, because there'd been a few of us kind of calling for him to get his chance for a while. And Darlow getting, it was COVID, wasn't it? Darlow had really quite bad. That gave him the chance. So he didn't really grasp it with both hands. He wasn't as commanding as you would like, but I'd be very slow to write him off completely. I do think there's definitely a really good goalkeeper in there somewhere. I mean, it could be a Fraser Forster Mark II. In that he goes on and has a reasonably successful career elsewhere. With the situation as it is now, I'd be very surprised if he was still here this time next year.
Yeah, and Johnny's already said that he could be out in January. So we'll have to wait and see with the goalkeepers, because
100% he'll go out on loan in next month. 100%.
He's Championship level. He was great for Swansea.
Is he better than what we've got right now? Is he better than Dubravka Darlow right now?
No. I don't think, personally, there's a standout goalkeeper, even Dubravka, which will come out in a minute. At this moment in the season, Dubravka hasn't been world-class for me, which I'm not having Dubravka, because I've got Carl Darlow. And I'm only going to score Carl Darlow slightly better. I think Carl Darlow's been poor as well. 8 games this season.
I think you've been generous.
I think I probably am. Johnny, I've said it to you. I'm sure I said this to you. It was like, goalkeepers normally win you 9 to 12 points per season if your goalkeeper's decent. I don't think any of our goalkeepers have won us any points this season.
If you're talking about Carl Darlow, I think he's cost us points. I think which game was it? It was the Chelsea game. Me and Sam, like, we've never really slated Carl Darlow ever, but that's probably one of his worst performances. Like, it wasn't necessarily the goals he conceded; it was more the kicking was poor. He wasn't timing when coming out as well. I don't know if it was to do with Graham Jones' tactics, but it's just normal. It's just basic goalkeeping skills. You need to read the game a little bit. I agree that he probably gets a little bit more than Freddy Woodman just because he's played double the amount of games. But I agree, Lee. I don't think anyone's been brilliant in terms of the goalkeeping situation. I know you're going to talk about Dubravka in a second, but in terms of Darlow, like, his standard is probably where we are. 19th in the league, just maybe bordering relegation.
It's like last season,
too good for the Championship.
Like last season, he was talked about getting an England call up before Dubravka came back in.
He was superb.
He was like 8 and 9 every single game. What a season him and BSM effectively. What a season Darlow's having, and you kept Dubravka out for a little period of time, and then Dubravka, you seem to like panic when Dubravka's fit, and he has again. You remember that Ivan Toney goal? That was straight at him. It's like, come on, man. your Premier League goalkeeper, you've got to be saving that. So I think I agree with Sam. It's a generous 5, but I think he has slightly outperformed Freddy Woodman. But this is the problem that we've had with goalkeepers, is that there's nobody standing out. We'll move on. Sam, you've got Martin Dubravka, 7 games, 1 clean sheet, which is against Burnley.
See, when I knew we were doing this, I'd kind of like scored most of the players in my head beforehand, and with the goalkeepers, I had Darlow and Woodman as a 4 and Dubravka as a 5. So based on that, Dubravka has been better than Darlow, so I'm going to give him a 5.5, as I know you love your decimal places.
Will work.
And that probably is slightly generous as well, because I don't think Dubravka has been amazing. But are we expecting too much from these guys who have arguably kept us up as well as Colin Wilson has for the past, last season, with the amount of points they saved us, and going above and beyond? There's been no worldy saves this season so far. Apart from Dubravka made a good one against Norwich, didn't he? When it was backs against the wall for a little bit. Let's not get it wrong either. The defence hasn't helped.
Dubravka has only played the last 2 seasons 20 games for her.
When he gets injured, he does it properly. He don't fuck about. So, you can't...
Would you be for if not so much January, let's say the summer, they just go and spend 30 million on a goalkeeper?
Wouldn't be against it. Wouldn't be against it in the slightest.
Rafa
wanted like 6 or 7 goalkeepers, didn't he? He bought Matt Sells and still was after another goalkeeper. Well, he got Dubravka in, didn't he? But I wouldn't be against it. Dubravka's north of 30, isn't he? Darlow. I was always a staunch defender of Darlow, but I mean, his arse always drops whenever Dubravka's back, and he shits himself and doesn't fight for his place. He just kind of accepts it subconsciously, perhaps, because them games he was terrible when Dubravka was on the bench. I wouldn't be against a new goalkeeper to even push Dubravka. But as you say there, Dubravka's fitness record isn't the best. So I wouldn't be against it, but obviously it's not priority for January or anything. Yeah,
I'd agree. We're probably picking over positions that there's more that we need strengthening, and we're going to move on to the centre backs. And again, anybody lads in the comments, if you agree, disagree, please give us your scores. Play along with it as well. But Johnny, you've got Jamal Lascelles next. A very indifferent season, 15 games, 1 assist. He's got the 1 goal, which was recent. Not great, is it? It's the season.
No.
To be fair, he had a good game last game out, but apart from that,
I thought the defence were brilliant. Sorry, they have completely butted in.
I can't think. Like every time we do videos where Torman away and think, Jamal Lascelles was mint today. How many times we said that?
Not many times. Even the game that he did score against Brentford, who conceded 3. Now, I'm not completely blaming Jamal Lascelles for that, because I think Carl Darlow should have at least saved the first one, and arguably could have done better with the second, if I remember rightly. But no, not the second. Sorry, maybe the third. But has he really been the leader that we've wanted this season? Not in my opinion. I think his defensive mistakes have been glowing. When he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. Sometimes defenders can make subtle mistakes, and you can kind of get away with it. This season, he certainly hasn't.
To give away 3 penalties this season.
Yeah, the Southampton
2.5. That Maddison one, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Southampton one, that was a big moment. That was a big moment, because it like we're in the Gallagher League, and I actually thought it was a tremendous tackle at the time.
Yeah.
And then when you see them that they've gone over and had a look at it, that's cost us 2 points, and 2 points puts us on the same points as Watford. Yes, I know Watford got games in hand, but let's be honest, that's probably going to be our next Premier League game as Watford, and that could be huge. But going back to the actual performances of Jamal Lascelles, haven't been good enough. They haven't been good enough for a long time, if we're being really honest with ourselves. In terms of mark, I know you wanted the mark at the very beginning, so I do apologise. I'm going to go.
Now wait.
I'm going to go 2.5. It's been really poor from our captain this season.
Really low, isn't it?
Ouch.
Yeah.
I think it's just a consistency thing with him because he has had some good performances and they are getting better. But yeah, he has had some right stinkers, hasn't he? It's a shame. I'm always a big Lascelles fan, not usually, but some of the performances this season, you can't defend the indefensible.
Yeah,
Look
and
at
I'm
Jamal
sure
Lascelles, though. Look at how good I thought he was really good against Manchester United, and I probably would have given him an 8 against Manchester United, and it shows that how bad he's been. That his average is probably about 2.5, 3, but I can't justify giving him any more than that.
That's what I mean. It's kind of it's the right time to do this video, but it's a really odd time because things are just starting to look up a bit. But we're obviously it's going to be very negative for the duration.
Well, it looks like I've got Kieran Clark next then.
Oh, good. Don't even get me started. I'd like to say I told you so, by the way, but continue.
I'm going to go as low as 1 out of 10. 8 games, 1 assist, 0 goals. But everything about him, he's a complete different person. When we first signed him, I was very negative about the sign. I was like, oh, Christ. The amount of mistakes that you've seen him do with Villa. And then he performed really well alongside Lascelles, become close mates with him. Came up through the Championship. Brilliant for the first 2-3 years. Injuries have slowly crept in a little bit. But over the years, we've never really criticised Kieran Clark until this season. He's been absolutely shocking. That red card as well was, I think, the iceberg. When the Titanic hits it, that was it. It was you're going down in terms of Kieran Clark. And then somehow, I don't know how he got back into the side. Maybe it was injuries. I don't know. I don't know what Eddie Howe's thinking was, but really poor. He can't even get in the Irish side anymore. And the Irish side, no disrespect.
Terrible Irish side.
The Irish side is the worst I've ever known since getting into football since '95. It's the worst. And he can't even get in that squad, never mind the first 11. So, any disagree on that scoreline?
I feel sorry for him. I really do. And I'll tell you why. Kieran Clark started as our main centre-back this season. He was bought 5 years ago. Kieran Clark shouldn't be one of the first names in the team sheet at the start of the season when he's been bought 5 years ago. So I do feel sorry for him. The Premier League is not his level. It's not. And you have to judge him on performances. And I don't disagree with the scoreline, but considering what he's given us in terms of performances and the level of performance. That's why I feel sorry for him. It's just a shame because he probably should have been sold. We were debating it, weren't we, at the end of the season whether we should get rid of Kieran Clark, but with everything that was going on, it was probably too much of a risk, or the hierarchy was sort of too much of a risk at the time to get rid of a defender because they didn't want to spend any money. So he's been a bit unfortunate in that sense.
You say Premier League's not his level, just to play devil's advocate. In all of his career, he's only spent 1 season outside of the Premier League, and that was with us in the Championship.
Well, but right now,
it was since that Brighton game that was the turning point for us last season. After that horrendous Brighton game, the rest of the squad bounced back. He hasn't. Like we were discussing this in the last summer, and whenever I've said about Kieran Clark, I says he's been fine for us, but he's got an error in him. You were always defending him, Peria, but I was adamant this day would come, and it's such a shame, especially that Norwich one. Jesus Christ, it's just that you can tell the confidence is just evaporated from him.
And not that, the Dubravka one as well recently, where he ducks and it goes over.
Oh,
I forgot about that.
Inexcusable. That is just absolutely disgusting. Because that was so early on as well, and that's just the game's gone before it's even started. He's excruciatingly bad, and he goes in January for me.
Wow. We'll have to wait and see. We'll move on from Kieran Clark. Everyone's agreed there. You've seen the comments appear on the screen. Not one person's disagreeing on Kieran Clark. But Sam, you've got the elegant man. Not so elegant the last couple of years. Fabian Schär. Seems to be a bit of a favourite of Eddie Howe's, though. He's playing a lot of games under him.
Didn't get a look in under Steve Bruce because Bruce. You're right, Jonathan. You have
I thought Burnley I just thought Burnley had scored there. They were literally just gone through 1-on-1. It was close to being offside there, but I was thinking surely not.
The Fabster didn't get a look in under Bruce because he, after 2.5, however many years Bruce was in charge, I forgot it now. It's in the past. Still didn't know his best team, best formation, best tactical Well, what a tactics, he says. So he was out and looking like he was out the door, and now he's come back with Eddie Howe playing in a back four, which we all said he could never do. And he's done reasonably well. There's still the odd occasion where you think, he can't play in a four. Because, he thinks he's Philip Albert sometimes and wants to go gallivanting off and then gets caught out of position. But on the whole, I like him. Score-wise, it's a tricky one.
Because maybe Fernandez will come on to him, but
no, because I think Fernandez is I think certain sections of our fan base are looking through rose-tinted glasses at Fernandez because he hasn't been.
We'll come to him in a second. What you going to
I do think Cher has been the best of the bad bunch. 5
down the middle.
Do you think Cher gets better marks, or people think he's a better defender because he's got that long ball in him? Like he's got that pass, that he's got that outlay, hasn't he?
He's a better footballer, definitely.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, he might have Botman next to him soon.
Well, we can speculate all day long. I'm sure we'll do a transfer video in January about all these rumours going around with Fabian Cher. It's mad to think, because only like a couple of years ago, our defence was the best outlet, effectively. It was winning with points, and now it's completely the shambles.
What's missing from that fantastic defence?
Probably coaching, because Rafa was really good at that.
Rafa was very good.
Defensively, Rafa for me, because he was.
Florian Lejeune is missing.
I thought that name might come back and haunt me again on this show. But Fabian Cher, 9 games, 1 assist, hasn't got off the mark yet. But I wouldn't put it past him if he plays regularly to score a couple of worldies, but a 5 out of 10. And that brings up the next one, Federico Fernandez, which I'll let Sam have you say in a second. But Johnny, you've got him just 7 games, fell out of love with both Bruce towards the end of his tenure and the start of Eddie Howe. When he did come in off the bench really early on for Kim Clark, I thought it was sensational. Thinking, right, he's going to start, but nope, back out. What's happening to him?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Shah's top one at 5, and we're all kind of agreeing that Shah has been the best defender.
Centre-back.
What we've seen from Fernandez, I would probably give Fernandez a 4.5. Now, I understand Sam's point of view, but you can only really judge him on what you've seen so far. And I thought he was poor against Aston Villa. I thought he was very poor against Aston Villa.
Wolves as well. Shit.
Anyway, as Manchester United just go on the low. But I generally think that Fernandez, for me, does offer you a bit more stability. And he's played a lot of Premier League football as well, in terms of obviously Swansea and Newcastle. And I felt sorry from the end of the COVID season, because he literally was playing with every defender in the end. But in terms of this season, I don't know if we'll get to see more of Fernandez. It wouldn't surprise me if we sold him in January, because I think he's only got 6 months left in his contract. But I'm not concerned about it, because I think we will bring in 2 defenders. Hopefully, one of them plays for Burnley. Maybe.
Sam, why do you not like Fernandez?
It's not that I don't like him. I just think people have short memories and look through rose-tinted glasses. The reason why people were calling for him back is because he was on the fringes when the defending was really bad. Let's not forget, Fernandez started the season as captain. He was terrible in the second half against West Ham for the collapse. He was terrible against Aston Villa. He was terrible against Wolves. And he was out after that. He's been out since the takeover, effectively. He's not really played since then. And then obviously Steve Bruce has lost his job, and there was a couple of naff performances under Jones, and then he was out under Howe, and obviously he's injured now. I don't dislike the guy, but I can't have 4.5. I'd be looking 3, 4 maximum of 4. He was terrible, but again, on his day, good defender, solid defender. I don't mind him, but on his performances that he has made this season, they were terrible. terrible.
I don't solely blame him for that West Ham game. I really don't. If Alan
No. Neither
if
do I.
Alan Saint-Maximin wasn't fanning around with it in the second half, West Ham don't get an equaliser. Fernandez doesn't give the penalty away. He's certainly at fault for the fourth goal. But I would say that I would more inclined to say Villa was one of the worst games I've seen, and I thought he was really
Villa and
poor.
Wolves.
He just looked off it against Villa. But I don't
Villa
think
last
he's been
kick
the
of the
worst player in
first
that
half.
game.
Last kick of the first half, they went 1-0 up. Just keep your fucking concentration, lads. And
Was that shit? Was that not fair marking him? Danny Ings.
Well, I was making a broader point about the defence because I was about to come on to the Spurs game as well about moments of concentration, like when they had the 5 minutes in between the chap who needed medical attention and half time. You could just tell with the way the defence as a whole, as a unit, had been performing for this whole season that they were going to concede again because there's just lights are on but no one's home, and they've all been guilty at some part of the season. But Fernandez for me is no saint in the whole situation, which I know a lot before he got injured everyone was pouring for him to come back in the defence, but I would, to be honest,
he is solid.
Yeah, but Lascelles is solid on his day, but he's been shite as well.
Well, one man who I think has been better than some others is actually Emil Croth. Now, hear me out. I don't think that Lascelles and Kieran Clark have outperformed Emil Croth. And when Emil Croth has played most of this season, I'm going to score him a 4 out of 10. 7 games, 1 assist, 0 goals. You think it's harsh?
He skinned Bruno Fernandez and McTominay in one fell swoop. That made me sit down and reassess my life. That and Joe Linton's skill against Brentford. I needed a week to absorb that.
Yeah. The reason I'm scoring the 4 because there has been a couple, right? When you say every time you say Emil Croth and line up, you think, oh yeah, we're gone. But to be fair, he hasn't actually played right back hardly ever. I can't remember. He's always like a right centre back coming in the wing back system, and I don't think he's been any worse. I think he's better than the captain. I think he's better than Kieran Clark. And look, I'm not going to say I want him in my starting lineup every week, but there's less errors. There's less.
Well, just shows how shit we've been, innit?
I'm trying to be nice, yeah. There's less errors coming from him this season than there has been previously. So he's not getting caught out all the time. I think he got done, was it a 1-2? Or who was it? I'm sure it was a St. James Park. He got done on a 1-2. And that was his fault for one of the goals. It might have been away. But it was a 1-2. What was it? Because Dubravka for me should have saved it. I'm trying to think. It might come back to us. It might be in Chelsea. I don't know. I'll come back to us. But Emil Croth for me, 4 out of 10. Look, is he the future at the club? No. But funny enough, he looks better at centre-back than he does at right-back.
Oh, he was sublime against Manchester United at right back. I was like, "What the? Could this be like? Could this be like a Joe Linton resurrection part 2?"
But he plays there for Sweden.
If we sign Trippier, then let's face it, he's out the door.
Well, so we keep on this right back debate because Javier Manchio is going to come up next. Sam, surprisingly, these stats quite surprising. We actually played 12 games. That surprised me. That. So he's played 3/4 of the games, 2 assists, and that goal at Old Trafford. So more of a regular than he has been last season.
Yeah, I still feel sorry for him about being shafted into a back 3.
Oh, right centre back.
Yeah, the other week, bless him. I felt sorry for him there. I think he's been largely decent enough, hasn't he? I thought filled in superbly at left back, which he has done before for us. Left back against Man United, wasn't he? But he did. Remember when we beat Swansea 1-0 away? That
was the Kraft bit I was on about. Yeah, thanks, Ollie.
Yes. I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah, do you remember when we beat Swansea away? Lascelles header. Manchio played left back that day because Jesus Games had to play right back.
Wasn't that the other way around? I don't know, but Games was amazing that day, by the way. He was.
There's a reason why Swansea went down that season, isn't there? But Manchio. Look, there's been times where again He's in the defence. He's been caught out and caught short. I think he's looked good going forward. But he's no world beater.
Everybody who's played there isn't, because Jacob Murphy, I haven't got him as a right wing back on this. I've got him further forward because he's been playing there of late. But even he's had a spell there. We've had
Jacob
there. Manchio's had a spell there.
Jacob
Isaac
Murphy.
Hayden had a spell there.
Yeah. Jacob Murphy's still giving me nightmares for that Watford miss.
Manchio's a funny one for me because
I've
never really rated him. Because I think going forward, he's so poor. His crossing is horrendous. It really is. The only difference that I've seen attacking-wise from Manchio this year is that he's anticipating the overlap a lot more. And you see that with the Man United goal, that he knows that saint-maximin has the time and he has the ability to take on defenders and can release it slightly better. And obviously you can see that against Man United. And there has been slight moments that you've seen that in other games. His crossing is still poor. Let's be honest. You don't get many good crosses out of Javier Manchio. And you also get one of those little moments, and you know exactly what I'm going to talk about, is when he gets to a little bit of moment, you think, go on then, see what you can do. And he goes, and I just think, do you know what? I'd rather you go for it. They're putting a challenge, it hits off, he goes out for a goal kick, but at least you've attempted to go for it and show us what you're about. But I thought he played really well against Man United. It's hard, to say, I go back to that Man United because that's fresh in your mind. Him and Croft was superb, they really were. But again, he's not the answer. He is not the answer. And a Trippier will get past him. Jamal Lewis will get past him. Hopefully with good coaching and maybe some better defenders around him, because I think that will benefit the rest of our defence. But in terms of maybe someone to bring on the last 20 minutes against Watford if you're 2-1 up, yeah, I'd bring him on.
Come on, Sam, you got the final say on this.
Yeah, it is I think this is one of the toughest ones to score. He does work well with ASM. I pointed that out last season. He has a good relationship with ASM.
Give us 30 seconds of ecstasy at Old Trafford.
Yeah. But Johnny is right. He's not the answer. Eventually, I mean, how long has he got left at the club? If by some miracle we stay up.
That's long ago.
Yeah, I think he's got a year and a half left,
Irrelevant how long he's got left on his contract. I'm tempted to give him a 5.
We'll go 5. So Javier Manchio gets a 5. 12 games, 2 assists. And
I was tempted to give him a 5, but I've been overruled. Okay.
I'll probably give him. I'll go along with that. I think
he's
one of the better. Better 5 out of 10. Better. I mean, that just tells you where our defense is in. A 5 out of 10 for Javier Manchio. All he's going to say, Manchio's overhated. Always works his socks off, but he does have an obvious lack of quality. We're going to switch it across now to the left side. And Johnny, you have Jamal Lewis, who's currently injured at the minute. Didn't get a look in for a long time. Played that League Cup game. Then didn't see him for a large chunk of the season. Just 5 games. And I actually thought he'd done all right when he first come in. First few games, no assists, no goals. Tough time at Newcastle, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been a tough time. I thought he was really poor against Burnley in the League Cup. I just thought he was frightened to take the handbrake off. He was very safe. The Burnley game was a bit like a pre-season friendly, and that Cup game it really was. However, if you wanted to sum up Steve Bruce's management, you look at the downfall of Jamal Lewis since he signed for Newcastle up to Eddie Howe coming in. But ever since Eddie Howe come in, I wouldn't say he looks a different player, but he certainly looks a lot more confident. He certainly seems that he has that belief that he can be a Premier League footballer and that he can play in this Newcastle team. We thought if he had a better manager around him, you get the best out of Jamal Lewis. And hopefully we are going to see that when he comes back from injury. I thought he was brilliant against Norwich. I thought he was brilliant against Burnley. And I want to see him more often. And then I think he can flourish. I think he needs the right partner going forward. I think we've seen at the ASM Jamal Lewis partnership could work for the odd 20 minutes maybe if Newcastle need a goal. but for the whole 90 minutes, I'm not too sure. In terms of a mark, it's difficult because only from the 5 games he's played, he's done all right. But you've got to look at it overall. I'm going to go 4.5 because he hasn't played a lot of games. That's the only reason. I hope he plays more games, and he might go to like 7.5. But from what we've seen so far, he should only improve.
Yeah, I could say my camera's starting to lag as well, so I might pop out in a second. So Jamal Lewis,
you had super good, You were bragging about your new internet.
You have fast broadband. Nothing to do with broadband because your webcam's on a browser. Different, you'll very high tech setup. But Jamal Lewis gets a 4, and I said Jamal Lewis gets a 4 out of 5, 4.5. Come on, Lee, out of 10. As I lag, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out, come back in. Sam, I'll give you Matt Richie, and I'll come back in. Good luck.
Miss you already, Lee.
Yeah, thanks for that, giving me that one. It's been a torrid time for him, hasn't it? Played out.
Working at the minute.
Are you?
I have no idea. No, I don't think I am. I don't know what happened there.
Neither do I. Matt Richie, been a torrid time for him, hasn't it? Playing left back in a flat back 4 when, it wasn't that long ago you were a winger being converted into a left wing back by Rafa in a back 5 and did a good job. And coming into a flat back 4 that's playing horrendously, you don't really know the defensive positional kind of.
How good is Matt Richie defensively for Newcastle?
Bang average. Well, no, below average, isn't he? In a 4, in a 5, you got away with it. In a 4, no, it's just not worked. And as a person and as a footballer, I think we'd all agreed love Matt Richie to bits. Great value because he's an absolute nutcase. 100% commitment every time, regardless of things are going well or whatever. But his performances, some of them have been poor, and there'll be no one more angry about that than Matt Richie, because that's the kind of character he is. I'm expecting him to go at the end of the season.
I do. I think he'll drop a level as well.
Well, he wants to. He told me he wants to go back to Portsmouth, and that was during lockdown 1. He wants to finish his career at Portsmouth. There's ever ongoing links with him to Bournemouth. Every transfer window he gets linked with a move away, doesn't he? Score wise, 2. Sorry, Matt. I love you, but
I don't agree with that.
Why?
I don't agree with that. Because I don't think he has been as bad as Jamal Lascelles or Kieran Clark, and I wouldn't go much higher, but no, not for me. Not for me. I think you can. Do you know what it is? You can have more. I think I heard some crazy stat. Did he create the most chances, or he was creating a lot of opportunities for Newcastle? I don't know how that stat works or whatever, but
he gets a lot of crosses and he is high on that. He's got 2 assists, but I agree. I think he's been shocking, Johnny. I agree with Sam.
I think you're asking a player who's probably not really proven to play an awkward position.
He's cost us 5 goals defensively, the back post. Numerous of times he kind of stayed with his man. A cross comes in, free header, free sliding tackle.
That's not his position.
But that's the position he's been playing, and that's what we've got to judge him on. I completely agree. It's not his position, and it's no really. Again, he was shafted into a back 4, a struggling back 4 by Steve Bruce, and just has never looked comfortable. I mean, in pre-season, he was even tried as a right back at Rotherham, wasn't he, Lee, in the first half?
He was.
And he was, just looked,
I think it's been shocking me.
He has. The stat you're referring to, Johnny, is chances created. But the vast majority, I mean, if you take away free kicks from that, then he's nowhere to be seen, really. He has been dragged from pillar to post. And I do have sympathy for him. I do, because I think he's been a fantastic servant to the club, like a lot of these lads have since the Championship. It's not. Jamal Lewis should have been recalled to the team a lot sooner than what he was.
If Jamal Lewis had played more games towards the back end of the season and started this season, I think Richie would have been sold. Because when we spoke to Luke Edwards, Sam, every player was up for sale. So why didn't anybody put in maybe a half sensible bid? A half sensible.
But Bournemouth probably did, but they wouldn't sell him because that would mean they would have to have replaced him.
Yeah, I remember Tinsdale saying they wanted him when he was in Bournemouth.
They wouldn't have bought anyone to replace him last summer.
That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't have replaced him anyway, but they would have got the money. I think they still would have taken the money and not replaced him. I think you're looking at your Lewis and Manchio, and they would have put Murphy
wouldn't be getting much money for
Kraft as right back options, and Manchio and your Jamal Lewis as your left back options.
I'd rather play Matty Barneswell at left back than Matt Ritchie. That's how, because I'm too worried about what's happening behind us. And Matt Ritchie's cost him goals, and he's a nice bloke and he's great going forward, but defensively, he's right up there. One of the worst defenders this season for me. Right up there. He's up there with Blackwell, Kieran Clark for me. Defensively, I'm talking about. Not going forward. Defensively, he's shocking.
Yeah, because in theory, his game is getting forward, whipping in crosses, but he's not. He ain't getting ahead of Fraser. He ain't getting ahead of ASM. He ain't getting ahead of Miggy. He ain't getting ahead of Joe Linton, is he? Or Murphy, or anyone like that. He hasn't got I don't think he's got the legs for it.
Right, then we'll move on. I'm going to pinch one player back, and we're going to move into midfield. John Joe Shelby. I'm going to straight away score him a 4 out of 10. As soon as he wasn't playing, he was injured, wasn't he, originally? And then when Eddie Howe came in, stupidly got those 2 yellow cards and then suspended. Thinking yourself, is he going to get back on the side? But he actually has been shown a bit of form, not every game, but there's signs in there, and we're talking about this for years about John Joe Shelby. There's signs that there is a player in there. So Man, you've gone 2-0 up, which is helping us out. But 11 games, he's
hope they win 10-0.
Yeah, that'll help out. 11 games, got the 1 goal, hasn't got an assist yet, which that should be higher as well. But there is a player there, and I think Eddie Howe likes him, and I don't think he's at risk of leaving in January. I think he's staying. Would you score any higher than 4? Do you think 4 is about right, Johnny?
It's a really difficult one because he did have an injury as well after the West Ham game. But I wouldn't. If I was being honest, I wouldn't go much higher. I had 5 in my head, but again 4 or 5. It's not the best, but what I like from John Joe Shelby is that he does seem to turn up for the bigger occasions. Like, you look at that Man United game where he was absolutely brilliant. In terms of us right now, our big occasions are your Burnley games and your Norwich games, and I thought he was brilliant against Burnley. I really did. I thought he controlled the midfield, and it was John Joe Shelby of old. However, he has got that stupid side to him, and it was the Spurs game, wasn't it? And I remember getting booed off against West Ham. He didn't deserve that. Didn't deserve that at all. But there is a player there. We've always said that about John Joe Shelby. There is a player there, and I think Eddie Howe could probably get the best out of him.
I think he is. He seemed to be in.
Oh, certainly. He's been brilliant in there, Eddie Howe.
Remember when Bruce came in, John Joe said, "Oh, Steve Bruce is great. His man management and all this is singing his praises," and he got proper criticised for that article. But he's not going to slag him off. But I think with John Joe, obviously he's been criticised for his work rate, but he's even pressing. He's pressing, like running towards him. I was like, what's happening here?
His work rate and his distance covered stats have been superb this season. I had 5 in my head too, just out of interest. Ollie, comment there. I think him and Joe Linton have been the best players under Eddie Howe. I thought he was superb.
We're not rating it when Eddie Howe comes into the whole. So over the basis,
he was injured for most of that, though, wasn't he? That's the problem. Like, he was injured for 11 games after that West Ham game.
Back and he gets that daft red card, and it's like it's the same with John Joe Shelby. Every season's consistency. You have a flash. I remember, I think 40 outside one of the grounds was arguing, as he always does with players, and him and Almira it might be in Villa away, I can't remember, but he was saying, "Oh, John Joe Shelby the saviour" and all of this sort of stuff, and no, he's not. He's just an average player, and what have you.
Next game, he scores a worldie against City.
He did. He said that about Miggy as well. I think it happened to Miggy as well. We had his laugh. I had a right carry on with him. But Yeah, John Joe Shelby, under Eddie Howe, I score him a lot higher, but overall, the whole 19 games we play the season, I think it's a 4 is probably about right. Johnny, I'm going to go back to you. You've got Isaac Hayden injured now. We expect him to be out for a few weeks, possibly a couple of months. 14 games, got the 1 goal, which is away to Brighton. And he's kind of fell out of favour with Eddie. I know he's played the last couple of games, but kind of fell out of favour of Eddie Howe was sat on the bench, which we're not really used to seeing Isaac Hayden.
No, definitely not. And he plays centre half. He's played right back. He's played right wing back. He's played a lot of positions. Centre back. He's played a lot of positions. Again, another player I feel sorry for. If you said 5 years ago Isaac Hayden was starting in the middle of the midfield, I'd be like, a bit surprised, but he can do a job. He can definitely do a job. And again, he's definitely a player that I wouldn't rush to get rid of. In terms of a rating this year, I don't think it's been his best season. But again, who can you say that's had a good season for Newcastle, in my opinion? Maybe a nice 4, maybe a bit generous 4, but there has been some moments where he wouldn't look back on and go, I played well in that game. I just don't think Eddie Howe will use Isaac Hayden much, because I don't think it's the sort of play he wants in that midfield. Isaac Hayden is your defensive midfielder, willing to take a yellow card. I think he wants a bit more attacking prowess in that sort of position, which you've seen with the Willocks and Longstaff and Shelby's, etc. So long term, don't see a future for Isaac Hayden. However, that goal against Brighton was brilliant. It was crucial, really crucial at the time, because we needed something going into that international break with Eddie Howe watching in the stands. But yeah, I don't see a long term future for him.
One of my favourite things Eddie Howe did was bring Hayden out of the team. Now, I've got nothing but love for Hayden. I think he's great, but he's not needed in that midfield for every single game. There are some games where you can just let John Joe sit in front of the back 4 and let him ping the balls around. You don't need the combative Hayden in there as well. You can have Joe Linton in the centre of midfield and whatnot alongside him. You don't always need Hayden in there. I think he was being overused by Bruce, and just because Hayden was playing well, he just gets a game. But not all the games call for such a defensive centre of midfield, which is why I think Howe's taken him out of the team, and Joe Linton and Willock and Shelby have got the go ahead.
Yeah, I worry about his future because he can't bring the ball forward. He cannot. Your modern days defensive midfielder, you look at someone like a Declan Rice who can. That's what you want your centre midfielder, defensive, especially to bring the ball forward. But he hasn't got that in him. But
I could watch him slide tackle all day.
Oh yeah, he's defensively, yeah. And I've got no questions about defensively, but you remember you had a pop at 2 of our former members as well when he was being criticised early on the season. So he was getting proper criticised early on the season. He had a bite on Twitter as well. It's unlike him. So he has got his critics. So
Lee Lawler.
Speaking of critics, a local lad, Sam, I'll come to you for this one. Sean Longstaff, 13 games, 1 assist, and he's got the 1 goal, which is a great strike away at Vicarage Road.
Oh,
how do you see him?
Yeah.
How do you see him this season?
Now, you're giving me Sean.
I love Sean. I know what you're going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I tweeted about him the other day, didn't I? His post-match interview was an absolute joy after Man United the other day. I'm a Sean Longstaff fan. I've never hidden from that. I did say on the watch-along before the Man United game, when the teams got put out, obviously a few COVID issues, it was a bit of a surprise to see Sean Longstaff back in the starting 11. I said to Steve, I said, do you think this is his last chance? Steve said no, but I kind of thought it was getting towards that, because again, he's another one, 6 months left on his contract. Would
you renew it?
It's such a tricky call, because
I wouldn't personally.
I would.
I just about would, yeah. Because there's a bloody player in there somewhere, and there is, Man United, whatever you think of them, they don't just offer £50 million for a centre midfielder willy-nilly. it's not like he's Jemba or Kleberson from back in the day where they just chuck a few million here and there. They properly wanted him, but that injury he had, he hasn't been the same since. He never looked right under Steve Bruce. I don't think Steve Bruce knew how to utilise him properly or could give him any words of advice. The pressing he did, because we were always told he's a number 10, but when he first broke into the team, he looked like the next Michael Carrick. 3-0. Yeah, I hope Man United win 10-0. Come on, ruin that goal difference of Burnley's. But yeah, to see him press and get the assist and create that goal for ASM against Manchester United was such a delight to see, and that finish against Watford was absolutely superb. So there's always high points, but when Sean Longstaff makes a mistake, every fucker knows it because it's a biggie, and it usually leads to us conceding a goal because he always dwells on the ball for too long on the edge of our box. He did it last season. He's done it again this season. In terms of a score, remind me, do you think he's had a real shocking game, a real howler of a game this season?
No, I don't think he's been one or two, but you could say about loads of the squad. But I think he's had more bad games last season. I just remember so Longstaff and Christ, what's happened to him?
Keeping it, yeah, exactly. And then you look at like old kind of montage videos of him on Twitter, and he looks every inch a £50 million player. It's a tricky one. I'll be very interested to see if his contract does get renewed. I think he's lagging some way behind in the Longstaff Rice debate now. But 4.
Yeah, he hasn't been any worse or any better than John, has he?
They've both got one goal. Sean's got more assists than Shelby. I know Shelby's on an upward trajectory, but maybe I am looking through it at rose-tinted glasses because, like I said, Sean Longstaff is one of my favourite players, and if he can get back to even half of the player he looked under Rafa, then he stays all the time.
I'm not bothered if he personally goes. I don't think he's a miss.
It's a really tricky one, and I do agree with Sam. This is really tricky, right? We have seen Sean Longstaff in younger age groups.
I used to watch him a lot.
When he was on loan at clubs as a number 10, he has never ever been a number 6 or a number 4. He's never been.
But that's what he came into the first team as, wasn't it?
Reluctantly, because we didn't have anybody to injury wise, as Burnley have just pulled one back. However, what I will say is, look at the goal that we scored against Man United. That is exactly what you want Sean Longstaff to do: nick it off them in their second, third, final third, get players into the game or have a shot on target, etc. Sean Longstaff can do that for you. Steve Bruce never ever really played him. In the one game he did play him, Bournemouth away, brilliant. He was fantastic. Couldn't get it. Could not get it. And I was a bit concerned him playing against Man United, and I was thinking, would Jeff Hendrick not be a bad option if we need that sort of player in that position? That's how bad it got in terms of my opinion on that. If you put Sean Longstaff as a 10 or as an 8, and you let him have that freedom and not be responsible for him to have it just outside his own box, then I think then you have a real opportunity to see a very, very good player play for Newcastle United. But if you're not going to do that, don't give him a contract, seriously, because it's a waste of a talent.
Yeah, him and Matty. Well, Matty's back now at the club and he's another one. But we'll leave that for another day. So long, Sam's giving a 4. Johnny, I'll come to you. Another one who's had his criticism. Go on then.
Go on, Johnny. My point wasn't important.
Joe Willock, back end of last season, Johnny, scoring goals for fun. Nearly took the record of Shearer. Got the joint record, hadn't he, in the Premier League? 16 games, no assists, no goals. Again, you talk about the players not being allowed to go forward. I don't think I've seen Joe Willock much getting forward. He's having that responsibility. Yeah, occasionally he has, but nowhere near to what it was the end of last season. It's been very disappointing.
Very poor, very disappointing. again, slightly feel sorry for him, because what you saw from towards the back end of last season is not what he's been doing this season. I think he's been playing more deeper, mainly because we haven't been very good as a team in general, so he's had to kind of put that position. I think Arsenal must be thinking, well, we've done well there. At the minute, then they're thinking 25 million roughly. Yeah, we've done pretty well there. Not giving up on him. I've not given up on him. I'm not giving up on him at all. However, he needs to improve vastly this next 6 months, because, like I say, it's a completely different ball game now. Yes, he's got a big contract, but I'm sure there'll be relegation clauses in there for Joe Willock. If Newcastle do get relegated, hopefully they don't. But with the landscape changing in terms of that takeover, the likes of Joe Willocks need to show, well, I need to make sure I'm in this team now, where if we did get relegated and there was no takeover, he probably would still get another chance, because he had that fantastic spell towards the end of last season. But in terms of the score, I'm going to go with the same with Jamal Lewis. I'm going to go 2.5. I don't know what he's really done of good this season.
Oof. Low 2.5. I think he's the only centre midfielder who can run with the ball, or the best of the centre midfielders who can run with the ball. I would like to see
that this season.
Not enough, but he's got that role just to basically park in front of the and if you've got Shelby alongside him, I mean, those two have been playing together quite regularly. None of them really have got the license to get forward, because you just give it to ASM, Joe Linton, whoever, to get up with the field. He hasn't had that license, and I'd like to see him play further upfield in a number 8 or a 10, but again, he hasn't got that responsibility. So it's another one, isn't it? And he's what we're paying installments, 6 million a year or something like that, over 5 years to get Willock or something like that, whatever it is.
I mean, Ollie in the comments has completely stolen my thunder, because his role confused. I think it was always going to be tricky for him this season because of how he performed at the end of last season. And I actually think Steve Bruce managed him quite well towards that back end, because he did have the odd stinker in that run, and he did get pulled out of the team, and some of the goals came from off the bench, because he deserved not to be in the starting 11 at times. He was never going to come in and score that many goals in consecutive games again, because that would have been ridiculous. Bruce obviously put all of his eggs in the Joe Willock basket. He's not Kennedy Mark II. I'm adamant he is not Kennedy Mark II. But as Ollie rightly says in the comments there, his role seems to have changed this season in the way the team has played, because before he was more of a box-to-box. He was arriving late, getting on the end of things and putting things away. He's not done that once this year, or I don't think he's not even had the opportunity to this year.
Is that down to him? It's not down to him. If it was down to him, he would be doing it.
You could probably count the amount of shots he's had this season on your fingers. It's just, and they've been speculative efforts at that. It's not like he's had any chance to go through one-on-one, like on overlapping the striker, like, you know, he scored against Leicester and whatnot at the back end of last season. And like arriving at the box late, scoring against Southampton like he did. It's very, very odd. And look, he's a young lad, moved away from London, away from his family and whatnot. So I think as football fans, we're very quick to forget the human aspect of side of things. But I certainly wouldn't be giving up on him. But yeah, I wouldn't have scored him much higher.
Joe Willock, we'll move on. I've got quite an easy one. I've got Jeff Hendrick.
What a goal against Wolves.
Exactly. I'm going to score my 1.5. 3 games. I don't think has he started any. I think they've all been subs. He's came on fairly recently as well. The Wolves one was a great hit, and the scenes in the Molineux were fantastic. But he's one that's I would expect to leave in January. Strangely enough, he still gets on that. We talked about the Irish side. He still gets in the starting lineup in the Ireland squad, and the Ireland squad's really poor. And Kieran Clark can't even get in that squad. But
Jeff Hendrick for Ireland.
Does all right. Does a job for them. Doesn't he? Does a lot of running. Runs a lot, as Liam would say, with Miggy.
I'll do all right against Gibraltar.
Yeah, but he had a cracking game against Portugal, didn't it? I was talking to one of our former sponsors, and they who happens to be Irish, and they loved him.
He's going out the door, though. I expect him to
Oh,
move.
yeah, he's gone in January.
I think he maybe even a free transfer or loan to get him out of the club.
Well, didn't Milan want him? They can have him now.
Yeah. This has fallen on nicely for you, Sam. Pre-Eddie Howe, awful. Post-Eddie Howe, superb. But we're not rating him since Eddie Howe's come in. It's over the season.
It's a tricky one because, like, a lot of people have been eating humble pie, especially you, Johnny, who kept saying you would have sold him how many times over the past 2.5 years. I'm not gonna claim that I've never slated him because everyone watching this has slagged off Joe Linton at some point, and for good reason. Not a striker, never has been. Positional play awful up top. Moved out the wing, did better, but wasn't pulling up any trees. Doesn't really have the work. Put a shift in. Can go past a man every now and again. I don't think he has the pace to be a proper out and out winger. Moved into centre midfield, and he looks like freaking Patrick Vieira. What is all right? Okay, maybe Patrick Vieira is a bit strong, but an actual genuine replacement for Mo Diame, let's say.
Well, I was just about to say that, Sam, because you remember when Mo Diame signed, we were like, oh, really? Because he was a 10.
I wasn't. I was chuffed when we signed Diame. I thought that was the perfect signing for that time, and exactly what we needed.
For sure.
He was a scapegoat, and then Rafa moved him to defensive midfield. I was like,
which is where he should have been played. He's not bloody. He was never a number 2.
And he was like, he was class. You remember the game against Man United when we won? Richie scored, and there was all that about Pogba and his back pocket and what have you. But kind of reminds me of a fairy tale of Diame was loved for like 18 months, and now Joe Linton's been converted, and everyone. And it's great seeing everyone, not just local, not just Newcastle fans, national media outlets talking how great he is.
I can't remember if I said this like on a video on the channel, but I've definitely said it to some of you lot about Joe Linton, that I kind of had a sneaking suspicion in the back of my head there may be a bit of like the John Dahl Thomason syndrome with him, that he could quite have easily have left over any time over the past 2.5 years, gone to a decent European team and had a fantastic career, because John Dahl Thomason wasn't played correctly at Newcastle. John Dahl Thomason was played like Joe Linton was, straight up top, because Shearer was injured at the time, whereas John Dahl Thomason's a number 10. Ringing any bells? But, you know, since Eddie Howe's come in, whether it was deliberate or whether it was just sheer dumb luck, but my God, he's like, it's just filth. His performance against Manchester United was exceptional. His performance and his performance against Brentford for 70-odd minutes was exceptional as well. He's getting used to. He's a workhorse. I think he's getting used to the workload of being a centre midfielder now, and I think in a midfield 3, because you still look at the team and you kind of assume that Joe Linton's in the 10, and we're playing like a 4-2-3-1. That's not the case. It's a 4-3-3, and it was Shelvey, Longstaff, and Joe Linton in the midfield. Suits him down to the ground. I think he's been. I can't praise the guy enough, and it's so nice to see, because there is nothing I enjoy more than being proved wrong, because it usually means something's good happening for Newcastle. So, but again, as positive as you want to be, scoring him on the whole for the season so far. Pre-Eddie Howe, and you're talking what? 2, 3? Post Eddie Howe, you're looking 8, 9. So, what's the highest we've had so far? 5?
5, yeah.
He's the best so far, I would say.
Oh, 100%. I'm just determining whether or not to give him a 6 or a 7. Because 6 doesn't feel right for me, because he's been so good over the past couple of months. But again, I can't have a short memory since August.
Well, Eddie Howe's had 11 games, so it's just over half.
7.
There you go. 7 out of 10 for
J7.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, it's an interesting one with Joe Linton, because he was the best player on the pitch. I've said for the last 2 seasons, I would have sold him for £10 million after the first season if you're going to continue with him as a number 9. We've never seen him in this position, really, if we're being honest, in terms of the sort of, midfielder
looks like a £40 million player at the moment.
Well, if you think we were going to blow Samare for 42
million at the moment,
let's not get carried away. Come on, he's had the last few games have been brilliant. Let's not get carried away because we don't want to think, oh, he's just going to do this every single week. He might have a couple of stinkers in that sort of position. What you need to do is support him, and that's what the fans are doing now. There's fans that really support him. They've got that song for him. He's thriving off it. Let's be honest. We've all been saying Joe Linton's rubbish, Joe Linton's this, Joe Linton's that. Let's just let him get on with his football. Let's make sure that he can have a good end of the season. And we go at the end of the season. Do you know what? For everything that we've said about Joe Linton, he's been our player of the season. That's how we've got to look at it, because we don't want to say, oh, he was good against Man United, he was good against Brentford, etc., etc. And then it just kind of just goes, we just need to just persevere with this little purple patch and hopefully it continues and we go, do you know what? Maybe he is a £40 million player. We just got him in the wrong position to start with, and we can blame a lot of people for that. So let's just say, keep it going, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the season. But he at the minute, I never thought I'd say this, he is the first name on the team sheet at the minute.
And if you look at who we've been playing the last 4 fixtures as well, Joe Linton has been peak.
Yeah.
So
I'm giving absolutely no credit to Steve Nixon either. I mean, he's totally fluked at the scout that signed him. Absolutely zero credit who signed him to play up front and whatever. Yeah, just no. But yeah, it's so nice to see. And hopefully there might even be more to come from him. Who knows?
Fingers crossed. Johnny, I'm going to come over to you, and we'll work our way back across. Jacob Murphy, 16 games, 1 assist, 1 goal. He's played right wing back for the first half of the season, lost his place, and then he's been coming off the bench, playing just out wide, and that 3 behind the striker role. Where do you put on him? Because you used to have had a lot of arguments over him at right wing back.
No. Johnny said Jacob Murphy can't cross, which is horse shit because he can't.
Oh, I can't remember that. No.
Do you want me to send you the video again in the group chat later?
You don't need to do that. The one thing I will say with Jacob Murphy, God loves a trier, but I just don't think he's good enough for this level. And you can put him in any position you like. I just don't think he's good enough for the Premier League, and I just think it's a shame because I think there is something there. I actually think his best position is probably an attacking right-hand side in terms of maybe the 3 behind the 1. That's probably his best position, but his crossing needs to be a lot better. He should be getting more goals. Like the only goal he's scored, in terms of his final product, he's crossing. He's had the odd moment, but there's been so many times down the flank. You want a good ball from Jacob Murphy, and it's just not been brilliant. It's been corners. It's got at the keeper. You could see 2 examples of that against Manchester United.
Yeah,
but he has got that little bit in him. It was a bit lucky at the post against Man United. But he's a workhorse. He really is. I know I thought I saw see him score a header against West Ham. Mind, I mean that took me by surprise. But in terms of mark, I'll go 3.5.
Can you please just bring up the Watford miss as well?
I was just about to say that. I think I probably would have given him a 4, but that Watford miss was such a crucial moment. Like I just hope that doesn't bite us on the arse at the end of the season. However, I don't know what he was trying. I think he probably thought Foster was going to go down. He was just going to dink it over. I think he had probably so many thoughts in his head, but you wanted a Calallen Wilson or probably even a saint-maximin in that position because they'd probably be so far ahead in terms of their mind going, just put it in the net. But look, it's one of those moments. Hopefully we don't have to live to regret it, but 3.5, I think it's fair. I think it's a fair mark.
And he could be gone in the summer.
I think he could be gone.
Didn't he just sign like a 5-6 year deal?
I think he'll still be gone. Just
contracts.
I agree with Johnny. In the Championship, he was banging them in. He scored 9 goals when he went out on loan to Sheffield Wednesday. I think that's his level. Same as his brother. So, but yeah, not for me. I think he's all right off the bench if you need something different, but that's as much I would take it with Jacob Murphy. Speaking of another winger,
Jesus Christ,
Ryan Fraser. Johnny's not saying Jesus Christ to me. He's watching the Man U game. Ryan Fraser.
What happened? I'm not watching it.
No,
Never
I
mind.
just literally my TV just it's Sky, by the way. Sorry, I know Lee's buzzing about that. I just seen Sunderland 4, Sheffield Wednesday 0. I was like, bloody hell!
Blooming hell.
What a
Go back to
example that is.
topic. Ryan Fraser is an interesting one because he's played 3/4 of the games. So people who say he's injury fit, yeah, to some extent, but 14 games, that's a lot more than a lot of the squad. 1 assist, 0 goals, 4 out of 10. For me, he works his arse off. And I think he does it. I think he's also got a better end product than Miggy, who's coming up next. I think Fraser has better end product. I think Fraser's very direct. He wants to run and just whip across in. And I love that. I love that old-fashioned winger. Get the ball in, whip it in, whether he's left or right. And that, you should have had a penalty for when you got wiped out by Edison. But I wouldn't get rid of him, Ryan Fraser. I think he's better. I think he's a better option, even if it's off the bench, because he's something different. I think Eddie Howe knows him. Wilson knows him as well. It's just
Steve Bruce played him centre midfield.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. But I think with Fraser, there's so much more to come. I think he's not finished at Newcastle yet. I really don't. I think he's driving with the handbrake on. That needs to come off, and then he can go flying. But yeah, Ryan Fraser, I would score him a 4. I think he's bits and bobs and spells. He's look great. Johnny's shaking his head. Come on, then. Tell me why.
No, it's you know what? It just the mind boggles with Steve Bruce and Graham Jones as well. Let's not forget about that. Going, you know what? I've seen this guy play for years for Bournemouth. He does really well on the right hand, on the wing. Sorry, and you think,
He's 3 foot tall.
He's a great player. Do you know what? Let's put him in centre midfield and try that and see what happens. I just don't get that. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. I just don't get. I don't. Like Does he
need to nail down? And this is all for Scotland. Sorry, but does he need to nail down? That's my position. Because even for Scotland, he plays right wing back, and he's played left wing back. He's played on the wing, and for us, he's all over the place. For me, he needs to nail down. Why would you do
that with Ryan Fraser? Why?
I know. But Ryan Fraser, 4 out of 10. I don't think there's many arguing against that from used to anyone in the comments as well, because I'm sure he'll let one know. Sam, you've got Miggy.
Good.
Good luck.
This might split opinion.
To listen to this.
This might split opinion. What is Miguel Almiron's job when he's on the pitch for Newcastle?
He runs a lot.
No. What is his job?
To run around a lot and do nothing?
No, that's what he does. What's his job?
That assists, get the odd goal.
Thank you. Look at that stat at the bottom.
Awful, isn't it?
There's a thing with Miggy, and he's had some very good performances because this season, and that was only been down to because it was backs against the wall and he helps out in defence and runs a lot. That's it. His development play and his creativity has been so lackluster this season. Obviously, it would have changed if he would have just hit that shot just a little bit more to De Gea's right, our left, and just nailed it right in the corner. But on the whole, I think he's been absolutely terrible. I actually saw Andy Musgrove in the Chronicle put an article out saying he is a candidate for Newcastle's Player of the Year.
This year?
Yeah.
Calendar year?
Yeah. No. I think he's been absolutely woeful.
I do. And again, we talked about it, this chat, the amount of positions that he has to play. Every time he gets put on that right, he hasn't even got a right foot, man. And
no, he hasn't got a right foot. And he can't even cut inside. He can't even cut inside and whip it onto his left. He has to go all the way around, which is what I was saying to you after Leicester. He has to go all the way around, and it just slows and stagnates the attack. His work rate, fantastic. His pressing, fantastic. I love that he helps out the defence and gets back and can he's not afraid to put a tackle in. But what's his job? To create, and he hasn't created anything. He's had one good chance to score all season, and granted it was a fantastic save from De Gea. Scoring wise, I've got 3 in my head.
I think that's fair.
I think it's an interesting one for me because 0 assists, 0 goals. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. But he's another player. When you look at this Newcastle team, and you think we could get so much more out of you. And there's been a couple of, and I think there's been a couple of occasions as well where that final pass has just not been good enough. And I mean, Wilson, we see him run and making those little runs, and that ball just hasn't been that good. And that's the difference. Those are the small differences.
No. And then people were getting on Max's case, saying, "Oh, he holds on to the ball for too long." This, that, and that. Yeah, he does. He absolutely does do that. But let's look in the difference of the stats of the chances created, of the goals scored, of the assists. You know, that's where
Mickey should be a guaranteed name in this starting 11 with his potential.
Yeah, for me, he leaves at the end of the season.
Yeah, there's been too much talk about his age and he keeps creeping up.
Eddie Howe, I think Eddie Howe can get a tune out of Miggy. I really do. But I think we've got too many similar players in that sort of position.
I think Fraser's the better option.
Yeah.
Fraser or Miro, and I'm picking Fraser every time. And we're only scoring Fraser out of 4. That tells you if Newcastle's behind the striker, how poor we are. Take away SM. I just think with Miggy, I agree. I think he's woeful. You know, I stood by him for like 2 years, and now he's played like the centre midfield role, and he's played left wing and right wing, and hasn't really had a chance in the number 10. I agree with Johnny's point. You can argue loads. Sean Longstaff, Ryan Fraser, Murphy, Willock haven't been given that option, and these are all kind of like winger / number 10s. And are any of them really giving us anything? No, they're not.
Well, he's got the 3 because his saving grace is what we've highlighted. Is pressing great and can force an error, but when he's actually on the ball, it's not there.
And he hasn't got a right foot. A professional footballer kind of pass with his right foot. A lad, and it winds me up because he's got so much pace, burning pace, going down that. And I don't like him on that right wing. But come on, use your pace at least.
Do you know what? If we still played a back 5, I'd have him left wing back.
Would you?
Why? Why not?
Or Matt Richie.
I'd rather have Miggy there than Richie. Maybe Miggy's out of position all this time because he works. He'll get up and down that line. He'll get up and down that line, no bother. And you know, but no, sorry, he just doesn't create. Final ball is terrible.
Terrible it is. 3 players left, and then the manager to score 2 exciting ones coming up now. Johnny, you've got Alan saint-maximin, played in every single game, surprisingly. 19 games, 3 assists, 4 goals.
I still think you can get more out of him.
So do
I still think you can get more out of him. 3 assists and 4 goals for a player the quality of Maxi. I think you can get more out of him. I think he might, even with his standards, might be slightly disappointed with that. However, like Sam says, he's our MVP. He really is. At the minute, in terms of this season, we're going to all talk about Colin Wilson, but we know he's got an injury. I mean, I know Max's got an injury, but you know, you've seen the amount of games that he's played there.
Hasn't missed any. He's the only one. He's the only one who played every game.
Big goals. You look at some of the goals he has scored. Leeds, big moment. It was hostile. It was toxic. You then got the Man United goal. That could be a big point as well. My only grumble with Maxi, and then we've already spoken about, or Sam slightly mentioned about it. There's certain times in certain places to do your tricks. You don't do it in your own half because we've been bitten on the arse. We've been bitten on the arse massively with some of his mistakes, and it has led to goals. My only issue is we are still seeing it once a game, and it really does frustrate me. But the argument is, what position is he best at? On the left, on the middle. I'm to and fro a little bit because I think he can be better on the left, but I said against Liverpool he was brilliant in the middle. I'm kind of undecided at the minute where I think his actual best position is in terms of a mark this season, because he's been so important, and he's probably one of the main reasons why Newcastle's still in a bit of a battle to stay in the division. I'm going to go 8 out of 10 for Maxi. I just want to see the little mistakes taken out of his game. But by God, get you on the edge of the seat, and that's what you want to see in James Park. Someone that can get you out on the edge of your seat and go on then, what can you do? And I honestly think an 8 out of 10 in a shit team is pretty good.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration lies when he does these tricks and they don't come off, is because of where we are in the league. If you stick that Alan Saint-Maximin in Tottenham or the current West Ham team or Leicester or someone like that, he pretty much gets away with it.
I think he gets more goals and assists as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say he was like an outright natural finisher.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for him in a way. That Southampton game, that should have been the winner. That should have been his moment. Man United, we were so unlucky not to win that game. That should have been his moment. There's been a lot of times where either his teammates or a performance here and there has let him down. But he's a guy that hopefully we can keep a hold of, and if we can stay up, and he can be part of the big future, hopefully.
Do you think the takeover is going to keep him at the club, Johnny? Do you think that's the saving grace? Because we're all worried, he might leave, where he might go. We're struggling. But now we've got the takeover. He knows that January is literally, 2 days away, and there's likelihood that's going to be 4 or 5 new bodies coming in.
That's our saving grace with him, because we know even with this amount of money that we've been taken over with and what the plans are, he's still in your plans. That's how good of a player Maxi is. He's still in your plans, and we think we can get more out of him. Could you imagine him with better players? Could you imagine him with not the likes of Jacob Murphy and Miguel Miron and X, Y, and Z, Jeff Hendrick? You know what I mean? And he plays with better players week in, week out. Maxi's probably won the jackpot a little bit, because the only player that he really trusts, he trusted Joe Willock last season and Colin Wilson all the way through, as the only 2 players he trusts that he knows that he can get a good return ball or a goal or maybe an assist out of. Like even the other day, he straight away when he had the ball, we see him go and run at fullbacks. He was looking for Wilson, and literally if the ball's just a little bit better and the timing of the run was a little bit better from Wilson, then it might have been another good chance for a goal. But I do love Maxi. He just irritates me. He does irritate me with his mistakes, but I think he will stay at the club. I think we're very lucky that takeover has come through, because if we didn't, a better club would have got him, because we would be in the Championship. Let's be honest.
Can you really see him? Because probability suggests the likelihood is we will get relegated. Can you really imagine ASM turning up to fucking Oakwell on a Tuesday night to play on that shitty pitch, or Stoke?
We'll just loan him out.
You know what it is, Sam?
Loan him out.
I think that's more likely.
Probably.
Give him a loan. Yeah. Another one, I've got a nice one here. Callum Wilson. I'm going to score him 8 out of 10 as well. What's that? Just over 1-3 ratio there. 15 games. Hasn't got an assist, which surprises me. 6 goals. 1 or 2 of those are penalties. Looks like he's going to be out for a long time. That's the real kick in the teeth, because there's the goal scorer. And ASM, you take those two men away with just Championship fodder.
But the thing is, though, ASM's not your natural goal scorer, otherwise he would have buried that chance at Liverpool. Ugh. There's too much pressure on Wilson. He should not be the only striker. In essence, I know you got Gale, but come on.
I know, because Joe Linton's now effectively a midfielder, and he's probably likelihood Joe Linton, if we do play the next game, he's probably going to play up top, because for whatever reason, Gale isn't fancied by Rafa, Howe, Bruce. But anyways, we'll go back to Wilson. Yeah, we know what you get of him. Feed him. He'll score your goals in around the box. He's got pace. What I do like about him as well, he's got a bit of muscle about him as well. He can shrug off people, he can hold the ball off. He's got a little bit to his game, a bit of everything. But if you go to score Maxi in 8, you've got to score Wilson at least alongside him. Those 2 men are just key for us. And they're both injured. Maybe these game suspensions have come at a fantastic time. I don't know if the Southampton one's going to be called off yet, but 8 out of 10 is so. I mean, we've talked about him loads. I don't have to keep going on about as Johnny's internet connection goes. He'll come back in, but
I do think we need a new striker in for the Leeds game. There is too much pressure on him, and he should not be. Because before it's a case of, well, if Wilson can't stay fit, we're down, sort of thing. That can't be the case. We need someone there. Well, now we're given our current financial status, you want to be buying someone better than Wilson.
But I disagree.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but that's just silly. He's not overrated at all. In fact, I think he's a bit underrated. I didn't realise how quick he was.
I didn't realise how strong he was either.
Yeah, he's got all the attributes.
Sorry to put him, but I think his best bit about him, he's very clever. Very, very clever. He wins free kicks in areas that just relieves a little bit of pressure when you've got your Kieran Clarkson, Jamal Lewis playing silly buggers at the back. He went, even to be fair, the foul that he got that's probably injured him was fantastic, because Man United were just kind of slowly but surely,
that name, fucking name. That's his inside talk. Nothing against you. It's just a WhatsApp group. Steve just shut up about this Canadian striker all the time. Love you, Steve, mate.
But no, in all seriousness, he's so clever. He's very, very clever, and he wins a lot of free kicks that he shouldn't even really win, to be honest. But he knows the Premier League so well, and he deserves better players around him as well. And he'll get you the goals. Like, I remember doing the article with the Athletic with Shearer. He won 20 goals this year. Now, I think that's going to be a bit of a stretch for him, but because I just don't think his injury record's going to hold up as well. But he needs a bit of help in terms of another striker coming in, and it's not going to be Dwight Gale or Yoshinori Muto and all the other strikers we've had back in the day.
Almiron to put a good pass through.
Yeah, he hasn't. The only time that he's missed an absolute sitter was 5 minutes into that game at Villa Park.
Yeah,
and that
you'd have put your mortgage on it.
I would have been homeless.
Right then, next one. Dwight Gale, the last one on the list before we're at Howe. Should be a fairly easy one, this one for you, Sam. Just the 4 games, all from the bench.
Yeah, I know, but I would argue Dwight Gale should be non-applicable because the 4 games from the bench have been, 5 minutes here and there?
Well, so is Jeff Hendrick, but he scored a goal, didn't he?
Well, yeah, because he came on for...
Well, he got a bit long.
Hendrick came on, didn't he come on in the first
20
half?
minutes, 25 minutes or something.
Yeah, I would make a serious case of Dwight Gale non-applicable because that's what he is. He's not applicable anymore unless we go down, in which case, yeah, you probably want to keep him.
For his own career, he should have gone. For his own career.
2 years ago.
Yeah, should have gone. The Rondon Gale thing should have been a permanent swap. We should have coughed up, give him a few million plus Gale and do the swap with West Bromwich Albion. Yeah, it's not that I don't want to. I just don't think. What would you give him, honestly?
I'd probably give him a 1.
10.
Yeah, but you can't give him a 1 because he's not made any serious impact. He's not cost us any games. He's not won us any games. He's not been as bad as Kieran Clark, has he? He's not done anything. He hasn't had the chance to do anything.
What does it tell you, though? You kind of get it. 3 managers didn't rate him. What does that tell you?
I don't think everyone did rate him.
Yeah.
But for the first Premier League season, that was it. And he got 6 goals all season.
Yeah, because he's not good enough, is he? Let's face it. He's not the first. He's not the last. He's David Nugent. He's he's David Johnson. If any Forest fans are watching, there's plenty of others that are like that.
That's all the players done, everybody. If you are enjoying this, please smash that like button. We're going to try and rate Eddie Howe. I'm not including the game where he got the COVID, the Spurs one, because he wasn't there. Although he was there behind the scenes, but he wasn't, if you know what I mean. So far this season, 11 games, Eddie Howe's came in, 1 win, 5 draws, 5 defeats. Obviously, the fixture list very recently has not been kind at all, with 4 really tough fixtures. First question, it's a tough one. Are we any better, Johnny, than Steve Bruce?
Oh, on the eye, yes. On results,
on the eye, yes.
On the eye, yes. On the results, you'd say no, if we're being honest. But then, a little bit, because obviously we've got that 1 win. The actual brand of football is a lot more pleasing. Even against Liverpool and Man City, yes, we knew we were going to get beat, but There was a plan. We're just very, very poor at the back, and always have been this season. And that's not going to change.
You
until
can't
we get
argue with
Christmas.
that performance Mike Dean gave. It was just out of this world. I had him triple captain that week on fantasy football.
Yeah, you did. But no, we are a lot more pleasing on the eye. I just think that it'd be really interesting to see who the players are that are coming in terms of, are they going to be Eddie Howe players? Are they going to be the hierarchies players? Because that's what's fascinating, because there's so much speculation. Are we getting an Aaron Ramsey, or are we getting a James Tarkowski? Are we getting a Kieran Trippier, etc.? So it's going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, he's of course he's better than Steve Bruce. Of course he is. The big question was, when he came in, is Eddie Howe good enough as a manager, as a head coach, whatever title you want to give him? Is he good enough to keep Newcastle United up in the Premier League? And we were arguing whether he had enough games to do it. I think he's got enough games to do it. But he needs to pick up points, and he needs to pick up wins, and we need to get on a bit of a run. And you look at the 3 games potentially next: Southampton away, Watford at home, and Leeds away. I'm even going to include Everton at some point in the future, because they're not playing great. They're winnable games, and the games that you can get points from. And Newcastle can get somewhere in the region of 7 to 10 points in the next 4 games. That could keep you up. Because Watford and Burnley are going to have to play so many games.
What would you score on them, Johnny? We'll try and go along. Before we give our scores, I think all of our scores will be higher at the end of the season.
I agree, but that will have a lot to do with the transfers as well. Yeah. It's a really tricky one, because you go 1 win from 11, ain't great. But the football is a lot better, and you can see a plan, and he's getting a tune out of some players like a Joe Linton, for example. I'm going to give him a very, very generous 5. Very, very generous 5, because he shouldn't be getting 5s with 1 win and 11. But there's a plan. I back him, and I think we can get out of this mess.
I'll say my 50 pence. I agree with Joe Linton, player reborn. I said this as well on video, that whenever a new manager comes in, there's always 1 or 2 who have that bounce. Always is at every single club. People that you don't expect. And Joe Linton is like a player reborn. I know it's early doors, and he's only been in, Eddie Howe since 2 months. Tough start for him. Obviously had COVID and then came in, but there was signs there that we all agree. I agree with Johnny. Will look better on the eye going forward. Look more of a threat defensively. I don't think Eddie Howe's done anything yet. I think we're still vulnerable at the back, and I still think we're vulnerable in front of the defense as well. But obviously signings will improve that. Tough run of fixtures, the Christmas period. I would have looked a lot better if we didn't have those 4 fixtures. You're talking Leicester, Liverpool, 2 Manchester clubs. But now the transfer window is effectively open in 2 days. He's got the checkbook. Go and get whoever he wants, whether it's his signings or signings, we don't know. But Eddie Howe will have a say. I'll probably just slightly up mine to 6, because he's got with a hope. I think that's what's missing from the club. Whereas Steve Bruce is like, Steve Bruce. He's talking to Steve Bruce. Whereas Eddie Howe, I listen to him, and I feel like he's teaching us in some aspects, but I'll probably give him a 6. But I wouldn't go any higher. So we've got a 5, a 6. Samuel.
Yeah, good point made. Before, you were obviously both at the game, but before the Man United game, they put a graphic on Sky comparing Bruce and Howe this season, and the stats were very, very similar. And I know I've used up some stats to kind of back up some arguments I've made throughout the course of the evening, but at the end of the day, we all watch every game. We all know what we see. Pundits don't watch us every game. We can see there's been an improvement in player performances and team performances. Results haven't been great. Brentford at home should have been a win. Norwich at home Brentford and Norwich at home needed to be wins. And that's put us in a position now where you're going to have to go to places where we have shit records, like Carrow Road, like I nearly said the Dell then. people of anyone over 30. St Mary's, you're going to have to go to West Ham where we've got a decent record. You're going to have to grow a pair of bollocks and actually beat Brighton at home for a change. You're going to have to get results at places where you normally wouldn't expect us to go get them. And the thing is, with the comparison to Bruce, is what you have to remember, he was the spawniest Newcastle manager I can remember in my lifetime, apart from Ruud Hullit's FA Cup run. He just looked out so much. All right, I'll admit Eddie Howe wasn't my choice, but 100% behind him, never in doubt. Like him a lot. Like Lee said, very interesting to listen to the improvement he's had out of some players. I'm gutted for Jamal Lewis because there was big improvement coming there too. Results wise, I think we were very unlucky at Anfield. The first half against Leicester wasn't bad at all, despite some people disagreeing, but there has still been little bits creeping where we folded again, like City, Leicester, which is the Newcastle of old, and I do think we came into this season undercooked. That we looked unfit. I'm comfortable with 5 or 6, to be honest. I would say more likely 5 because you live and die by the results. And I know the Norwich game was Kieran Clark's fault, and I know he wasn't there for that Brentford game because if he was, I think his presence would have done enough to win that game. Which sounds silly, but you can't concede silly goals as soon as you go 1-0 up. You just bloody can't. And this next batch of games is huge because I don't think January is going to be as cut and dry as people think, because it's going to be hard to get players to come and sign for the team that's 19th in the league that have only got 11 points so far this season.
Can he attract those players? Can he attract those names that he thinks can make a difference as well? That's an interesting, because everyone's going to talk about the finance and the money side of things. That, of course, plays a huge part if you want to be successful, if you want to win more games of football. You have players on more money that normally do better for you. You normally attract the better player. Eddie Howe's got to have that relationship with players. I think Kieran Trippier potentially is a fantastic signing if that gets over the line.
I can't get my head around that.
What do you mean you can't get your head around that?
Why would you want to leave? Why would you want to leave Atletico Madrid to come to Newcastle, who are 19th in the league? Money, fine, money. But then you're just turning into QPR, which terrifies me.
When Kieran Trippier is a sensible, very, very sensible signing.
I know. It'd be great.
It happens.
But I just don't get it. Like, same as Aaron Ramsey. I'd be chuffed to fuck if we sign Aaron Ramsey because he is a player and a half. But I just think, like, I'm scared. That's what I'm admitting. I'm scared. I don't want to go down. I don't want us to sign a bunch of mercenaries. I don't want us to sign players for the wrong reasons. I want them to buy into the project in the future of Newcastle.
It's natural that you're going to get mercenaries, though, because we need them. And we can use each other.
Do you know what the funny thing is, though, right? We can afford to have mercenaries. We can.
Well, that's if we steal
300
you can afford it, but it doesn't get you results, does it?
No, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't want another season in the Championship. Some people will say, like, "Oh, it will do us good to go down because we got away with it twice." I know we've got away with it twice, but bloody hell, I don't want to risk it a third time. It's a fantastic league, the Championship, but so difficult to get out of. Doesn't matter how much money you've got; it's how you spend it.
You just want to go to your hometown. You just want to go and sit. You want to go to Birmingham. You want to go to Birmingham away. You want to be in the away end at St Andrews, and you want to go. I support Newcastle with your big Brummie accent.
Fortunately, Stafford are in the Conference North, so we're going to have to really fuck up to be playing my hometown.
No, I don't think that'll happen for a while. But Eddie Howe gets a 5 out of 10, but no doubt if he asks us this after 38 games, I think that'll be a little bit higher. But that's because the fixtures, refereeing decisions, COVID, you could say. But the brand of football, we can all agree, is much better. I hope you all have liked the video. It's a long one. I thought it would be about an hour, but as ever, we've run over. Halftime score report. We'll do end of season one of these as well. Just remember doing one, and we found out the takeover was off 1 year, so I don't think that'll happen at the end of the
I
season.
forgot about that.
But if you can, smash that like, and well, we'll have to see whether Southampton game goes ahead. If it is, I'm down there. But if not, we'll do a transfer rumour video, I think. Any guests coming up? Anything that you can tell our audience, lads, for your show?
No.
In short, no. But look, for the Greenwood and Mulliner show, yeah, we are keeping on doing them. We've done 75 shows now. So yeah, we've got a few like with soft yeses ready for January, but you're not going to get anyone between like Christmas and New Year, are you? So yeah, we'll be back in January with Greenwood and Mulliner shows with some more big interviews.
January's in 2 days. But yeah, we'll also do a couple of videos on FTV Extra. I want to do one on Michael and Dweedy and Dylan Stevenson for Extra as well. So if you're not on the sister channel, please hit subscribe.
If Wilson's not fit and we don't get anyone new, would you give Stevenson a chance against Leeds?
In Cambridge? I don't think any of the under 23s.
Yeah, I know, but
I know Matty's back. Matty's back. Rodrigo Vilca's back.
Play him in the cup. Play him in the cup.
I
want to see how good he is.
But yeah, hopefully that game goes ahead because Cambridge have sold out the allocation. So well done to those as well. Right, we're going to love you and leave you. There's plenty more stuff on both channels and all of our socials. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.